Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Welcome back to Counsel Culture, where it's not about canceling, it's about counseling, a place where we can feel together, reveal together, deal together, so we can heal together. Yeah. And I am joined once again for our second session by the CEO and president of Franklin Entertainment, produced so many great projects, film and television, New York Times best-selling author, and this is what I want to ask about when we even start with pastor. Are you a pastor?
Preacher.
Yes. So you can say reverend?
No.
Not reverend?
Because a reverend is another title for a pastor.
Right. So you don't get a title in front of your name? It's just
DeVon.
DeVon Franklin, ladies and gentlemen. We're here.
My man.
Thanks
for having me again.
No doubt, man. And I think in our last session we ended with, it was quite colorful and vibrant, just based off of my take on marriage and relationships, because we dealt with heartbreak and divorce in our first session. And this kind of, leads us to the conversation of, being a man of faith. And your perspective of it sounds like you do want to give it a shot again when getting married. And it's probably what I would think would be rooted in being a man of God.
No.
Really? That's not why.
Rooted in being a man of God.
Interesting, because why else would one? DeVon, there's so many of them out there, my brother.
As we see.
Yes. But I mean, because as a someone who came up in the faith and, in a very, religious family, that was the only thing that even made me attempt to achieve monogamy.
Sure.
Because just God, just faith, just knowing to be, as Jesus, your relationship has to, the way Jesus loved the church, that's the way a man has to love his wife. Like, I grew up with those concepts, and therefore, through many relationships, made all of those practices. Even in my marriage, that was the whole thing. It was a deep covenant, but I feel like if you remove God, then you're gonna be in these streets.
well, here's the thing. It's not so much about removing God, right? So I think the challenge is, so let's just go down this line of thinking. Yeah. If I, as a Christian, as a preacher, as a man of God, if I say, I have to go find a wife because that's what men of God do. Yeah. What happens?
He who finds a wife finds a good thing.
Right. But the key there is that, you only find what you already are. So if I'm not living as a husband, I'm not going to then find a wife who's living as a wife, if you get what I'm saying.
Facts.
But what happens though is that we buy into these ideas. So then it's like a title. I'm a man of God. So then what are the accessories I need? The wife then at times can be an accessory because I'm a man of God. So then it's like, I will live the image of what people tell me I'm supposed to live, but I may not actually be living in the truth of who I am. So for me wanting to get married again, it's about me identifying, I think that works for me. The Apostle Paul talks about, hey, listen, I'd rather you be single. You even mentioned in the last session, Jesus was single.
He had to do his work.
So men of God being single is completely possible.
Yes.
And for some, that's the way to go.
Right.
For me, I don't look at wanting to get married again because of a title or a role. I look at it as like, okay, DeVon as a person, what works for me? What works for my heart? What works for my lifestyle? What works for my truth?
Right.
And I do believe, I'm not now, listen, I'm still in my journey and I'm still, trying to figure out, okay, well, what does that right fit look like?
Yeah.
I haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah.
But my truth is, I think that having a partner actually works for me.
Right.
And then it just so happens that I'm a man of God, because I think so often in the church, what happens is people buy into this, I'm a man of God, I'm a woman of God, and then they come together in that way, but they're not really coming together as two people. They're coming together as two titles. And then you never get a level of truth in the church at times, because instead of coming by title, I'm coming because this is what works for me.
Right.
And I'm not trying to fit what works for me into what works for the culture. This works for me.
Right.
Having one person that I'm committed to, that they're committed to me, that works for me. And now getting to the process of identifying that one, that's a process, right?
Yeah.
And that's a process that I'm in, trying to figure all that out.
Yeah.
But my decision to have a partner that I want to get married again comes because I think it works for me. And I believe that That is how God created me.
I want to, I got to dig in. There's so many layers. Because I want to start here. Do you believe that it works for you is because that is what you've been taught?
No. See,
innately you feel monogamy is natural for you.
Okay, hold on. You asked a good question, right? Now, I believe that as men, and I can't speak for women, I believe as men, it is absolutely possible for us to have multiple, emotional connections with different women and listen, I know you don't post a child and I want to hear more about that.
Yeah.
So yes, do I think it's possible? However, it is absolutely possible for us to choose one and to be happy and to be fulfilled, even if you or I bought into the idea that, okay, let's just go down the road for a moment.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say monogamy is not our natural disposition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can still choose it.
That's what,
and still be happy.
And that's why I said, I believe the word says, obviously he who finds a wife finds a good thing and it is exalted by God.
Yeah, find the favor of the Lord.
And finds the favor of the Lord because in that sense, it can't be done in any other form. It has to be the order, God, man, woman, for it to work and be successful in that jurisdiction. And even in the sense of whatever your faith is.
Yeah.
There's most faiths have an infrastructure of family. And therefore, and it's set in place because they're saying, you cannot do this. This is not possible because it's not natural to who you are unless you're operating under this discipline. Now, even if you take spirituality out of it, there's usually a man, to your point, to simplify it, a man who really wants to dedicate himself to his woman and only his woman and be equally yoked.
Yes.
There's so much discipline that goes against our nature to actually do that. Now, and maybe I'll lead it for you this way and this is actually what I was getting to when I say is that because what you were taught. You grew up in a house full of women.
Yes.
And you saw your father, you talk about it in the book, you saw your father mistreat the marriage to your mother.
Yeah.
And from what your book says, and I'll let you speak on it, it says that you didn't want to be that. You didn't want to do what your father did to your mother.
Yes.
My scenario, I came up in an unorthodox home as well. I watched my mother be a very strong, independent young woman. Had a child as a teenager and never let a man dictate or navigate who she was.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And even to this day, my mother is one of the strongest women that I've ever seen. Now, also, I was also raised by my grandparents, my father's parents, who my grandmother, still call her mama too, the matriarch. But my grandfather was, we see him on the weekends.
Right.
You know what I mean? Respectfully. You know what I mean? But and it was in their union 50 plus years until he was, until he transitioned. And I watched him work. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm cut like he cut. You know what I mean? Like just still had his home solid. You know what I mean? And then even my own father, who never married my mother. But then gave his life to the Lord and created and started a whole nother family that was, in proximity I wasn't a part of.
Got it.
So it was a very unorthodox world for me, but in result of that, it created detachment abilities for me, which I see as a superpower. Some people see as trauma because then it's been told to me that those are abandonment issues. But to me, it's just I wasn't part of the conventional family.
Sure.
I had the ability to feel love from multiple places.
Right.
So therefore, now I can still feel love from multiple places. And I know how to easily say, okay, I'm in love for a season. I'm in love for here, and there. And whatever I'm supposed to get out of this, I'm gonna get out of this. Whatever I'm supposed to get out of this, I get out of this. So if I'm talking about me specifically, it's not foreign to me to love here, and love here, because that's how I was raised. Now, for someone who's raised in a traditional household or even witnessing things to say, okay, I want to be like my father. I don't want to be like my father. A conventional scenario feels like this is what I desire, what I'm supposed to be.
Right.
I don't desire to be with, even when I've tried it, even in my marriage, it took everything in me. And my marriage didn't end because of infidelity or any of that, but it still was like, one, equally yoked is like, I was probably the most equally yoked in my mindset with my wife than anyone I ever, because I had so much reverence for her that my man inside of me was able to be soft for her.
Got it.
When she turned hers on, I could turn mine off. It was never a combative thing. I never was like, woman, follow me. She was teaching me and leading me and vice versa in those scenarios. So it was a great balance. But in every scenario prior to that, and this is where I really want to get to, I believe and understand two people coming up together, whether they're young, whether they're on the grind, like, we gonna build this union for us. We gonna create this family for us. We gonna start with nothing and we gonna build an empire. Those people should get married. Absolutely. like from the
those people.
From the finances to like, you take what you got, I'm gonna take what I got, we gonna bring it together and we gonna make more. You know what I mean? But for someone like myself, one who's been married before, so my empire is, my empire is tainted a little, what I bring to the table, because I have attachments already. Therefore, if I look to start something else again, it's not gonna be equally yoked. And being a man in, whether it's my finances or whether even I spent in my 40s now, I'm set in my ways. I don't need anyone. Now, at 21, when I was wide-eyed and hopeless romantic, and like, I need a partner to build with. I don't need anyone. I like being by myself. I like making choices. I like picking which car I want to get in. I like thinking about which city I'm going to be in this weekend. And I don't have to check with nobody.
That's the beauty of being single.
But also, if I do find someone that I'm deeply in love with, that I want to spend the rest of my life with, it's not equally yoked, because 9 times out of 10, what is she bringing to me? That makes me say, I want to give you half of everything that I got.
But I understand what you're saying, but it feels like you're looking at it primarily from a business transaction, not an emotional one. So yes, let's just go down your line of thinking for a minute, right? Like, you are at a level in your life and career, from a financial standpoint, it's probably very difficult to find another woman for you that works for you that is also of the same financial status. That's probably very difficult. However, I would say it's not as hard to find someone at the same emotional status who has something to bring you, who could actually offer something to you. I believe that.
Because the only reason why I say that is because, again, and this goes back to what you said in the last session, we're only responsible for our own happiness. So even if I find someone who's emotionally in tune and aligned with what I believe.
And you're in line with their belief.
We're not gonna be, that's not no reason to get bogged down into a government contract. Look. I'm just saying, like, because that could be a great friend, that could be a therapist, that could be a pastor, that could be. So emotions, because again, what I'm desiring at this age, I'm not looking to be in love. I did all of that. Like, if anything, I'm in my provider stage. And I'm in my legacy building stage. In your 40s. That's what we go through these stages as men. We're
doing
mature
it right now.
So we're like, when I'm not here anymore, what did I leave? And I honestly don't think a companion is going to help me at this stage.
Okay, but let's go back.
So emotionally.
But here, let's go back to the word for a minute. Right? Let's go back to the word.
Let's get it.
You go back to Genesis.
Yes.
God creates Adam.
Right.
He says, hey, Adam, I'm gonna, he says it's not good for man to be alone. Now, what that means is not by themselves. It means without support. It's not good for the man to be without support. He creates, the birds, the bees,
they all have
the
partners.
beasts and all that. And then Adam said, okay, he said, go. So then Adam goes and starts naming the birds and the beasts and whatnot. And then once Adam goes through a period of evaluation and exploration, he comes to the conclusion that I haven't found the right support system. And that's when Eve is created.
Right.
So if you look at it spiritually.
But you see what all the trouble she got us in.
No, but
trying to eat from the tree of knowledge.
No, but
she know everything.
But it goes back to us, right? Because Adam could have said, I'm not going to eat of the tree.
But he was so in love and so blinded that he followed this woman.
But was love the problem, or was his attachment to it? I mean, attachment to her.
But because ultimately, what the Spirit was attempting to show the both of them is that you're supposed to allow God to lead you, and you're not thinking lead for yourself in that process. So, so in that they revealed and saw that each other were naked and and all of this stuff. So
came out of that.
It goes back to if the man even was as wise as Solomon was and he got misled by a woman, at a man at a certain, when you're building your legacy. I believe, and again, because I'm being very careful, because I love women with a passion.
Clearly.
But as my journey and my trajectory, it's been a woman is only going to slow me down. Nick. Especially as a father, because you can't disagree with this.
Okay.
As a man who is 12 children deep.
Yeah.
There's only so much time in a day. Yeah. There's only such bandwidth, spiritual bandwidth, physical bandwidth that one has. Even when I meet new people today, they have to understand you come after all of my children. Because the one thing I do gotta at least try to get right, I don't owe nobody nothing except for those children.
Right.
So therefore, a woman, and they're out there. There's women that will understand, like, okay, I understand you got to be a father first, but there's usually not enough time to tend to your emotions or the emotions that we've created once I've done all of that. So therefore, there's no way. Now, if we're saying once all my kids are grown, and I'm in my 60s and I'm over here in San Tropez and, on the yacht, and I'm like, hey, that young lady could be my wife.
But hold on. I'm going to use an extreme example. All right. Do you feel that Michelle slowed Barack down?
You're making my point. You are making my point. They started from the mud.
I get it. But that's just where they started. He owes her that. I get it.
And I said, if there was a woman, and because I've explored this, if there was a woman from my childhood or from high school years that believed in my vision, that was down with me before all of this, I went back and like, maybe this person knows me better than all of this stuff, and maybe we can find a connection there. Right. That maybe, but just in my own personal experiences, there was no one that I could say, you were the one. You was rocking with me when we was in the 9th grade. Right. Or you the one that said, Nick, you can be something. You can. Right. I don't have those people. Like everybody who meets me today is meeting Nick Cannon.
I understand.
So therefore, my guard's already up because
what's your intent?
I don't know you and you think you know me.
Right.
So
and that's one of the hardest things about being in the public eye.
Yeah.
When it comes to dating.
Yeah. So it's like I'm jaded. My guard is up. So therefore, like I said, I don't know. Like I said, in my older years, in my softer years, once the legacy is built, and I'm tired. But again, I'm gonna have so many kids, I ain't never gonna be lonely. like everybody gonna wanna go to the movies with Papa. Right. So I just don't see it happening.
And I respect where you at. I'm just saying, like, I personally don't believe that a woman slows a man down. I believe the right woman, the same way that if you're the right man for a right woman, the right for the right man.
Barack and Michelle's a perfect example because he needed her at the beginning, and then once it balanced out, Jay and Beyonce, that's equally yoked. I'm never gonna find somebody that's equally yoked as the word teaches. You will.
But here's the thing. How do you know that? How do you know? When you say never.
Oprah ain't single. Oprah. Can we do this? Because that's the only one.
I think Steph is going to have something to say about it.
That's what I'm saying. Steph has been rocking way too long to let me creep up in there.
But the point I'm getting at is more about optimism. Like, I agree with what you're saying in terms of it may be very difficult for you to find the right person that you feel is the right person, that process for you may come with a lot of challenges. I get that.
Right.
But theoretically, practically being open to love, right? Because I believe part of the greatest legacy I want to leave is a legacy of love.
Right?
I want people
Me too, DeVon. The fruits of my labor are quite apparent.
Okay.
There's a lot of love children out there.
And I want people to see that love in the movies and the books and the sermons and the children that I'll eventually have and all that. I want people to see that. For me going through the heartbreak, the worst thing that I could do for me is to turn off to love. Now, the part that I'm trying to figure out is like, okay, what is the right fit?
Yeah.
So I'm not jaded about there is a right fit, but to your point, when you're in the public eye and you have a level of success and you're, mid 40s, finding that right fit is hard.
Yeah, let's talk about that too, because, and let's just call it what it is. You the angel, I'm the devil. You're on the right side of the shoulder with the halo and the wings. I'm over here with the pitchfork and the horns. Because we both have had heartbreak and we made different choices.
Sure.
And I say all that to say because you probably, from society's perspective, are dealing with this in a much healthier way than I have dealt with it. Because same pain, or just similar pain. But people can step back and say, I admire how that brother's doing that. I admire how he had 10 toes down, chest up, still walking, still talking the talk, being a man of God, even though, he experienced divorce, he experienced, being vulnerable in the public eye, and he still has hope to find his queen and he's gonna get it right. And I hear every black woman out there like, yes, that's the man you supposed to be. And then when they turn to me like, he ain't that, let's cancel him. I don't know why he is allowed to even be on my television with all his ways, because I understand my way is not the orthodox way of approaching life. So I want to ask, in dating, in making the decisions to still have hope, to not be hope broken,
right?
And even to be, again, you share what you want to share, but I feel, because I try to do the celibate walk and the godly approach, even after my marriage. I went through stages of like, I'm just gonna spend time with me and dig into my word and all that stuff. But lust, temptation, the world that we live in, it, the devil is busy. You know what I mean? And how do you, do you go out on a date and y'all just talk? Or if you looking for your queen and you can't test the nectar, how do you really know?
But again, man, this is so good because again, part of what I had to learn, is, and you are speaking to this as well, which is like, I cannot go through this and even begin to find the right partner or even begin to date in a way that I'm doing it for others. I'm doing it because because you're a man of God, you're supposed to do this. Right. It's like, I understand that, right? Because I get that. But fundamentally, me as a person, I have to be honest with where my truth is, right? So coming out of a marriage, am I looking this moment to say, oh, I want to find the one? No, I'm not ready yet. But am I optimistic about, yes, I will get to a place where I'm ready to settle down and be with one? Of course. But I'm not doing it because that's what's expected of me. I'm doing it because I believe that's what works for me.
For you.
So when it comes to dating, it's really about identifying, okay, well, what works, One of the things you mentioned, which is very true, which is like, I think it's hard in general in this culture to make meaningful connections. That's hard, right? And then especially when you add because, social media and even if you're not, in the public eye, You have a social media page. You know what I mean? Everybody's got a page, so that's public, right?
And that's your representative.
And that's your representative.
Right.
And then you either live up to or down to that representation depending on, the circumstance and situations with the person. So for me, when it comes to dating, so much of my dating has been about, really getting a chance to know me. And to the point that you made, like what I realized is like coming out of the marriage, like I'm like, I'm not dating from a place of wholeness. I'm dating from a place of I don't want to feel this pain. So I'm gonna go on this date.
That's why I went in. That's why I became a villain. Got in them streets.
But then, what helped me start putting that in perspective is seeing the pain that it caused some of the women I dated.
Facts.
Because
I felt that.
What may have been, casual for me was
agree with you 100%.
Important to her. What may have been, that was just hanging on a day. It's like, no. You said this, and this. I thought that meant this, and that. And so as a man taking accountability, it's like, I may not be at the place where I'm ready to settle, but I still cannot just use women as accessories to help me anesthetize my pain.
You preaching.
You know what I mean? Like I still got to be accountable in that way. I still got to be honest in that way, So now this is also what, even before we got here, I've been so curious about this. You don't have to answer the question. It's just me, especially as I'm on my journey trying to figure out the right fit.
Yeah.
How do you, and this is a legit question.
100%.
Brother to brother.
Brother to brother.
How do you practically manage more than one woman? And what are the arrangements you have to broker with each woman when you are dealing with women and they see you in public with one woman on this day or another one another day or social media post over here and Valentine's with this one and Christmas with that one. How do you do it? And this is a legit. I'm not trying to get in your business. I'm literally trying to understand how you manage it.
You would ask that question at the end of the session. No, but you know what? I'll say this because we'll deal with it all in the next session. But you just unearthed my greatest dilemma in love, and because I've talked about this in previous sessions, but even never at this level to where you tapped right into it. Even saying with your dating, as transparent, as truthful as I am with everyone since my marriage, is I start off with I'm broken, I'm wounded, I'm working on myself, which ultimately is me saying I'm selfish. I need this time for me, and even whatever you're desiring from me, you're most likely not gonna get it. And it's unfortunate because exactly what you said has happened in your scenario happens in my scenario at the highest level.
Sure.
Because love, the half of love is pain. You know what I mean? Like as much as it is amazing and beautiful, it's 50-50. As much as your heart feels joy, it's gonna feel pain. Because that's how hard we love.
Yeah.
So when I witness people that I love hurt because of decisions that I've made, even if I was honest about those decisions, even if I was transparent about those decisions, it keeps me up at night still to this day of seeing, especially when it's the mothers of my children, because now that pain goes from them and into my children.
Right. And
I mean, literally, it's through prayer and therapy is the only way that I continue to manage and just know that I gotta keep pushing forward. But and I feel like I've figured it out. And like I said, we'll dig into it in the next session. But that question is so complex for me because I think at the core is you can't generalize. So even from the outside looking in, it's like, man, how do you manage all of them women? I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's individuals. If anything, these are individual relationships. And if anybody's managing anybody, they're managing me. They're dealing with me. They're making the sacrifice to say, you know what? I know he's gone through this. I know he is this. I'm making that choice to love him through it. And all I can say is I'm reaping the benefit of women that have truly been angels in my life, opposed to like, cause that's, I think the concept, or at least the perception, sometimes people thinking like, oh, Nick got all these women and what he telling them? What, it's like, nah, if anything, these are people that I confide in, and they've made the decision to love me through it. And they have the power, but it gets very difficult. And that's why, like, whether it's through therapy, through the process, because no matter how loving they are, no matter how nurturing they are, not how much understanding and forgiving, when I make certain decisions, it hurts.
Yeah.
And when I see them hurt, I hurt. And so I wouldn't, as who, you know, the people, man, I see how you doing it. Yo, this ain't for the weak. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have the capacity to even dedicate and love one woman, definitely don't try to do multiple, because you're only gonna find yourself in spaces that are overwhelming, that put you in this, you know, again, like anybody else, like, man, lots of therapy, you know, talking through it. But honestly, man, I can't, you know, as we end this session, I'd have to say it's not me. You know what I mean? I don't know why this journey has been chosen for me. I'm definitely, like I said, I'll take accountability for all my actions, but everyone knows that my scenario is not your normal scenario.
Sure.
And I'm doing the best that I can, you know, and I think everybody in it understands that I'm doing my best, but it's challenges every single day. But I think, and to bring it back home for everyone, love hurts. And the deeper you love, the more vulnerable you make yourself. And when you're trying to be in scenarios, especially if I was in a, you know, because all these titles from polygamy, polygyny to, you know, whatever you, I think those are about hierarchies. And usually it comes from a place of misogyny where a man sits here and he has multiple women. I don't think that's what I'm doing. If anything, and be as vulnerable as I can be right now, I'm a little boy with a lot of love and care and nurture from individuals that sit in more of a matriarch place of looking like they're helping me through this journey, opposed to me, I'm gonna tell you what to do, like at least the way that I envision it. You know what I mean? Because I think if I envision it from any other aspect, that, you know, they're in charge, or not even that, like, this is, because I've heard all of the things that people say, like this, you know, Nick got a harem, and Nick, the polyamorous, whatever. I don't visualize it like that. I visualize, yo, this is the journey I'm on. This is who I am. If you want to go along with this journey, it's not going to be an easy one. But I guarantee you, my goal is to give you everything that I can possibly give you to make this journey as easy as possible. And that's kind of where I have to leave it. Now, again, I'm still in the first inning. You know what I mean? I still got a long way to go. And I hope I can still operate out of love. But when you understand that love is going to hurt, love is sacrificing, but this is what I chose. And I'll dig into that in the, because again, you have to deal with people as individuals. You can't generalize. But I'll go into those details of, like, there's some that believe this, some believe that. But, you know, these, if we're gonna say a poly-styled relationship, this isn't new. You know, tribalism and these concepts have been going on long before you and I got here, and people have been able to manage it. But it's new for our generation, and I'm still trying to figure it out. So we'll dig in deeper. Man, DeVon asking these hard questions. We really get into it. The author of The Truth About Men, and we really get into the truth. Deep. We going deep. Like, comment, subscribe. I know the comments is going crazy. I know y'all calling me all types of names, but we gonna deal with all of that, and we gonna dig deeper in our next session with DeVon Franklin. My man. Good stuff.
Good stuff, man.